Hi students! Today we are going to look at a very famous artist called Claude Monet. He was a French artist. Sadly, he's not alive anymore, but he is considered one of the greatest painters in the world because of how he broke the rule in the art world. Back during his time, people wanted to create the most perfect and most wonderful artwork, but he decided that he didn't want to follow other people. Instead, he created his own path in the art world. He created his style, which is famous for the very messy brush strokes, and if you look at all his artworks, most of his color choices are on the cool side. That's because as he got older, his eyes had some problems and he started going colorblind. That is why the things that he observed, the things that he painted, all the colors look a little bit off. But nevertheless, his artworks are considered one of the greatest in the world. So through his artwork, we know that not everyone look at colors the same. There are some people who are colorblind who looks at colors differently. So through that, Claude Monet taught us to just believe in our own choices and to use whatever colors that we want. So for Claude Monet, he's quite famous for his water lily painting, which is what we're going to learn to do today. We are going to learn how to do some watercolor painting, and then we are also going to create some nice interesting textures using a little bit of salt. You will notice that in my artwork, it's mostly cool colors. So cool colors are able to give us a sense of calm, a sense of peace, and sometimes it can even make you feel cold. Ooh. So let's get our things ready for our water lily artwork. So to begin our artwork, you need a piece of art block paper. Because we are doing painting today, it's very important that you have a piece of thick paper. Normal A4 paper is not going to hold your paint. Then of course you need your paint, your paintbrush, palette, a cup of water, and some crayons. I think my art block paper is a bit too big, so I'm just going to cut it in half. So if you want a smaller piece of paper, you can do the same as me. So for this extra piece of paper, I'm just going to put it aside. Maybe we'll use it for our next lesson. First, let's take out your crayons. We're going to use the crayon to draw a bridge and the fence. And then also we're going to draw some lily pads and lily flowers in the pond. I'm going to pick a dark color first, a dark green. Then I'm just going to draw an arch for the bridge. So an arch is going like this. You can draw in the air a few times just to practice. Then once you are familiar with the shape, just go ahead and draw the arch right in the middle of the paper. Then another arch at the bottom. Then let's draw some straight lines down for the fences. Once you have the lines, let's go in and thicken them. Just make it slightly thicker. Okay, once the bridge is done, let's take a lighter green. Now we are going to add some highlight onto the bridge. A highlight is the lightest part of a surface where the sunshine falls on. So because the sunshine is coming from the top, the highlight will be on top of the bridge. So just take the light green and go over on top to create the highlight. And then do the same for this bottom of the bridge here. Okay, once the highlight is done, let's add the shadow. For the shadow, you can use black or brown. I'm going to use brown. And as you know, shadow falls at the bottom of the object. So let's do it at the bottom of the handrail here. And then the side, just one side of it. And then the last part, the bottom of the bridge. Okay, give it a tap to remove all the crayon bits. Okay, next I'm going to draw some water lilies and some lily pads floating on top of the water. So just take a green and let's draw an oval shape. just oval shape like this. The oval shapes that are closest to us, the viewer, are going to be bigger. As the lily pad goes further away from us, it's going to become smaller. This is called space. Then I'm just going to use a lighter green to color the inside. Next, I'm gonna add some lily pads. I'm gonna maybe choose a pink, maybe a red and a pink. Okay, to draw a lily pad is quite simple. Let's start with a U shape, something like that, and then just the flower petals on top. It kind of looks like a fire. And then let's color the inside with some pink. You could also add some orange or some yellow just to add varieties to the colors. Let's draw some more lilies over here. You draw like a fire. Color the inside. I'm gonna draw a few more behind, just some tiny ones. So tiny that you can barely see the shape. Okay, I think that's it for the crayon. Let's keep all the crayon and we are gonna take out our paint. Remember to cover your table with some newspaper. Alright, I have chosen some cool colors over here. I've decided to use some blue, some purple, and some green. These are colors that are right next to each other on the color wheel. I don't have purple, so I'm just gonna mix a light blue and a pink to produce some nice looking purple. So let's put all the three colors into the palette first. Alright, now I have my colors inside. Okay, like I mentioned just now, we are only using cool colors for our pond. So don't put in yellow, red, and browns and other warm colors. We are only using cool colors. So the first step that I want you to do is to wet the whole piece of paper first. So you want to use a big brush. This will speed up your process. If you use a small brush, you are going to take 10 years to wet your whole piece of paper. So please pick a big brush, the biggest one you have. If you don't have a big brush, just take this whole piece of paper and go to the sink and just give it a good drench. And then tap it off and bring it back to the table. So I'm just going to wet the whole piece of paper first. Because just now I used crayon, so the crayon is actually going to push the water away. So I'm not too worried about the paint covering my drawings. I'm just going to lightly go over all the white spots. Be careful when you're putting the water that you don't want to rub too hard, especially when you're going over your crayon drawing. If you rub too hard, you might smudge your coloring that you have done with the crayon. Okay, you want to do this step very fast. Now I'm just going to start by using the purple and the blue first. So I'm just going to take a bit and just dab it in. Just dab it in like that, and then the water is going to help the paint spread on its own. We're not going to smudge it and paint it, we're just going to take the paint and drop it in. If you find that your paint is not spreading on its own, it is probably because your paper is already dry. So you want to just add more water and make it wet again. So just keep going, add paint, drop it in here and there. And you can also pick it up and help it swirl around. Woo! It's okay if it drips out, that's why you have a newspaper at the bottom, right? So don't worry about it spilling out. Now you notice that I left the top part white. Actually, I wanted to leave this part white as well, but the paint kind of got everywhere. So that's okay. Next, I'm just going to take the green and go to the 4 corners. Just this corner, and this corner. You can add a bit of dark green as well. Look, it's not really spreading, so better add some water. You can also add some green in the middle. Next, I'm gonna use a small brush. I'm gonna take this dark green over here and I'm gonna do some grass at the bottom. So I'm just gonna put my brush at the most edge and then I'm just gonna go upwards in an upwards motion. So just like that. Upwards motion. This will create some wheat grass in the foreground. So again, just go to the bottom edge and go upwards. Okay, I think I'm pretty satisfied. Before this painting dries, let's take out the salt. And we're gonna sprinkle it. When this salt dries, it's gonna suck in all the water and create some very interesting and very cool textures. So just sprinkle them here and there. You want to do this step while the paint is still wet, because once the paint dries, I'm so sorry, the salt is not going to do anything. Just make sure you cover everywhere that you can think of. Okay, I think I have sprinkled quite a bit of salt. Next step is just to let it dry, and then you can also brush off the excess salt. And when it dries, you should have something like this. Isn't it cool? Look at how the salt has created this interesting texture in the background painting. So let's recap what we learned in this art lesson. We learned that not everyone views colors the same. Every one of our eyes are very special, and sometimes when we see a color, another person might not think that it's the same color. So when you're making art, it's okay to use your own favorite colors. You don't have to do what everyone is doing. We also learned how to do some watercolor painting by wetting the whole piece of paper first and then putting the colors in and watch the colors spread on its own. That was a really fun process, and we even added the salt in to create some textures. So I hope you had fun creating this artwork inspired by Claude Monet. See you another time. Bye bye.